Welcome to episode. I went fucking scouser for a minute. Episode 10 of the Let's Talk Games podcast. I'm Jamie. I'll host this week. In the middle there is the man himself, Uncle Chunt.
Hi.
And Daniel's over there on the far left, looking shorter than the other two of us, even though we've just discussed he's definitely not.
Konnichiwa.
So yeah, interesting week for video games. All we've got to talk about this week is news stuff. There's been a whole heap of things going on. We had the reveal of a new engine from Unreal. We had the Ghost of Tsushima. What do they call it? Not a let's play.
Game.
A what, Dan?
State of play.
State of play. A demo, basically. And we also got some other news this week, which I cannot for the life of me remember what it was because it's not that important. It's a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater remake. It is important.
Not that important.
It is important, but compared to the other two things, it's just not latching in my brain, and I don't know why, because I really love Tony Hawk. But for the start of this week, as with every other, what have we been playing? And Dan, since you're so far away from me on that screen, you can kick us off.
What I've been playing. So I started a little bit of Destiny 2 just to be in your worlds for a little bit. So I just hit the first like campsite that you run into. After everything goes to crap. So I'm actually enjoying it a little bit, but I just got to power on because after I played that, I jumped into my normal 2K sessions. But night before, I started the second season of Batman Telltale series.
Nice.
So I've done episode 1, so I'm probably going to finish all that this week, and then I'll jump back on to Destiny to keep giving that a little bit of a go. But it's I really like that Telltale series with Batman. I think the animations and the fight scenes that they choreograph are just really well done, and everything's really responsive. Hopefully, the rest of the story, does well because the first season was really, really good. But yeah, that is my week, and I'm very excited to continue on with Batman.
Nice.
On to you, Chunt.
Yeah, right. Well, after we did our spoiler room talking about Spider-Man 4 earlier this week, I have just been playing Animal Crossing still, and I'm having a bit of a breather between Spider-Man and this weekend, which I'm going to get through Life is Strange Series 1 and 2. That's on my list to do, and then Witcher 3's after that. So I need to just get through it this weekend. But yeah, Animal Crossing. I am now the samurai warlord of my island, and I'm pretty sure I have a relationship with a cat.
That's so good.
Fair enough.
Yep.
But there's worse things to have a relationship with, like rusty nails. So
Yeah.
or spoons
Yes.
if you're so inclined. That's a salad fingers pun for anybody who doesn't understand salad fingers. Chunt, I saw your face go. You knew what I was talking about straight away. I have played video games. I finished Spider-Man, which I think we talked about last week. I finished all the DLC, so I started God of War.
Did you platinum Spider-Man in the end?
I
don't think you'd platinumed it last week.
No, I didn't platinum it. I haven't platinumed it. I can't friggin' talk, man. Those old fashions are getting to my tongue. I haven't platinumed. I can't fucking say it. Platinumed it. I've got everything finished except the crimes in each district. I've got a fair few left to go. I think I've got a good 40 or 50 left to do. So it's just a case of sitting down for a few hours and webbing around the city and doing some crimes. Not in that way because I'm obviously stopping them. I'm not doing them. Stopping some crimes, not doing some crimes. So yeah, I will do it. I mean, it's the last one I've got left. I've got one trophy left, which is the clear every district. So that's all that's left to do there. I will go back to it. So I started God of War. I've put in 2 3-hour play sessions of it, and I don't know. I just don't know. Something's not clicking with me. I don't know if I'm playing it at the wrong time, having come out of something like Spider-Man. I was craving like an RPG, and this is very cinematic and very slow and very Tomb Raider, and I don't want Tomb Raider. I also don't want God of War to be Tomb Raider. It feels very Yeah, I think so. Probably before. I mean, it's either that or I play through it very slowly. Do you know what I mean? Where I go, oh, I've got a couple of hours to kill. I'll jump in. I'll play a bit more God of War and eventually get through it. But what I've played so far, story wise, not overly intrigued so far. The kid is a jar. He's more of a hindrance than he is anything else. But I think I can see where the story's going to try and go, and
Yep.
I want to see what happens. But it's just a case of maybe now isn't the time for me to see it. So I quickly kind of sidebarred it a little bit. I played a bit more Persona 5. I had a save sat there with 27.5 hours on it. So I'd forgotten completely what the hell was going on. So I did some like digging around and watched a couple of things of like, first few chapter like walkthrough things on YouTube just to kind of get me back up to speed. I was like, oh yeah, now I remember who that person is and why we're hunting them down and investigating them. And I've been in quite a good loop of playing an hour or two of that every day just to get, because that story is enormous. Like I think it is well documented as over 100 hours for the main campaign, so every little helps. And then I started Assassin's Creed Odyssey after we saw that Unreal tech demo, which we're going to talk about later on. I was like, I have an amazing computer with the capability of ray tracing. Why am I not using it for anything? And given the whole Assassin's Creed Valhalla thing, and it was like, oh, maybe I'll jump into Odyssey. It was on sale this week. It was the gold edition was like nothing. So everything with all of the DLC, I think it was like UK money, like £22, £23 or something. So yeah, $40 for you guys for absolutely everything. I was like, do you know what? Let's do it. I installed the ray tracing mod, and my god, that game is something phenomenal to look at. So I've been playing that ever since. I haven't booted up Animal Crossing once this week, so Chunt, you'll be disappointed. I'm sure my Islanders will be disappointed as well, but do you know what? They can go fuck themselves. So that's how much I care. And yeah, that's it. I played a little bit more Fable, but nothing. I got too distracted by Assassin's Creed to go like headfirst into Fable, although I'm determined to do it before we find out what the new Fable is, which is hopefully in a couple of months.
Oh my god, yeah.
And now I'll come up for air and let someone else do some talking. So first thing is first. The first reveal of this week was Tony Hawk, right? That was the first big news thing.
Yep.
So Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 are being remastered for current gen. Any word on next gen? Don't remember that bit. Clarification?
No, I think it's
they didn't bring that up.
It's this gen. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, amazing. I've got fond memories of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. I don't think I ever played the first one, but Pro Skater 2 played to death as a child. So, this is great to see them kind of rebuilding it, inch for inch, as they were saying. Like, they want it to feel exactly the same. All on board about that. But you guys can give me your thoughts. Chunt, just to throw down off, I'll go to you first.
Nice. Look, I think this is something that they've needed to do as far as the brand goes. I think Tony Hawk is like, goddamn, we dropped the ball and shat the bed with Tony Hawk 5. Like that was a joke. So to go back and remake the first two games, which is what everybody, for the most part, that stayed with the franchise remembers. Man, I've played those games so much as a kid. One in particular, and I think two, yeah. I think most people fondly remember two. So I'm just curious to see exactly what this is like, because I imagine it's a new engine. Like obviously it's a remake, but as far as the controls go, like are they really going to try and just mimic like the 20-year-old, however old it is, game controls, or is this going to be a marriage of new tech versus the old feel somehow? I'm very curious about that, because people that have stayed with this game for so long and still play it today, and even got the HD remasters that came out like within the last 5 or 10 years, people are comfortable in that. So I wonder what they're going to do. Like, but I'm super hyped for it, man. Like, I think this is something that people have been asking for years, and one way to steer the ship, and maybe even try rebrand or reboot the brand itself, is to remake 1 and 2, and then see how this goes and do 3 and 4. I think this is only good and positive. Yeah, so what comes out at the end of this gen, but backwards compatibility is not really a problem. But look, I'll be there day one. I can't wait for these games.
Yeah, so I was so excited when that trailer came out this week, because I was like, remaster Tony Hawk 1 and 2? Really? And then I started that trailer, and as soon as that music kicks in, because I played more Tony Hawk 1 than 2. So when that music kicked in, I was like, oh my God. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah.
It just like took me back there instantly. So that's why I was very excited. I used to play as Jeff Rowley the entire time. But what? So it's been made by Vicarious Visions that did the Crash remaster. I think it's clear what Activision are trying to do with some of these older properties now is that they'll remaster one of their old games. They'll see how they sell, and if they sell well, they'll do like a new game, I reckon. Because I don't think we're far off hearing about a new Crash game or something like that.
No.
Yeah, so I watched a little bit of gameplay because I think like on Jack Black's channel he was like hanging out with Tony Hawk, and they were playing the game and that. Because one of the interesting things of that game is like with the PlayStation, with the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1, like they didn't have analog sticks back then still for that game. So it was all D-pad. So it's going to be very interesting, like you were mentioning, Chan, to actually how do you play that game with analog sticks, because most people are going to use analog sticks, which
One didn't have manuals either. Like the manual
Yeah, it
trick.
did. Yeah, it did. Yeah, because I tell you, combine all your things together. Yeah, that was in one.
When you go, was it?
Yep.
I don't remember that.
Because I was horrible at them.
Oh. Maybe I just never used it. Because I only remember it from 2.
Yeah. But yeah, I rewatched that trailer so many times this week. So apparently Vicarious Visions actually still had the original source code of the game, but everything else has been remade. So the only thing they had left was how the game actually played. So yeah, I was just very excited to play that game.
What about the music? Like licensing all this music again. It's not easy.
Well, apparently they didn't get everything, but they got most of it.
Yeah, there's no way they get everything.
Plus, most of those bands they can afford.
Yeah, Activision can afford a lot, but they don't want to spend a lot when they don't have to either.
So, was it given a release date?
September 4th, I believe.
Yeah.
Let's just come out. Let's come out alongside Cyberpunk and Avengers. That's a great release window for a video game. Avengers is going to be pushed. Sidebar.
It's like counter programming, really, in a way, isn't it?
People that will play one, maybe not
one of those
play
big
other,
games. I'm just and it's anyway, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I got burnt by Pro Skater 5. Do you know what I mean? Like kind of day and day was like, do you know what? Yeah, more Tony Hawk, the nostalgia thing, and it quickly became apparent because that was one of the games that obviously got the review embargo was after launch, right? So people were like buying it, and then the reviews came out like just as people were finding out just how janky and awful it was. And yeah, it was quite burning, to be honest. Like that game is absolutely incredibly awful. So yeah, I think going back to 1 and 2 is probably the best thing they could have done. It's the only way of saving the franchise in any way, shape, or form. Let's be honest. So yeah, let's all look forward to doing some actual skateboard tricks with a game that actually knew how to make you feel like you were doing skateboard tricks.
What they need to do then is bring back aggressive inline. Yeah, rollerblades.
Also, apparently you can create your own skate parks in it too. They've brought that in.
Sick.
So they brought that from 5, right? Because that was a thing of 5. You could design your own parks. I seem to recall.
Pretty sure that's from 3 and 3 as well. Like
to be honest, after I played a little bit. I remember playing a little bit of 3, you know, like with friends, like at friends' houses. But 2 I actually had, and I don't think I had too much interest in it after 3. Until 5, obviously, which, as I said, nostalgia reasons. But it's good to see them remaking something that people care about. Like you said, Vicarious Visions are good at that. Activision are seemingly getting good at that. You know, with Crash doing so well, Spyro still doing well.
The way to go.
Tony Hawk's the next logical one for them to bring back from that era, isn't it? And I agree with you. I think we may see some some Crash announcement soon or some Spyro announcement soon. You know, because all
gonna
those
wait.
characters were utilized for with these like Skylanders, wasn't it? That's all Activision used them for in recent years, other than these remasters. So let's see where they manage to go with it.
You reckon we'll get Spider-Man back in this game?
Yeah, because he's in Pro Skater 2, right?
Ooh.
He's unlockable.
Yeah.
It'll be a
Neversoft was
PlayStation
doing a bunch of
exclusive.
Spider-Man games.
Activision had the publishing rights for years and years, and then that deal.
Yeah, well, the original Tony Hawk games, that Neversoft were the developers for that, and they did the PS1 Spider-Man 1 and 2 games using the same engine. So they just put Spider-Man in there. So I'd be interested to see what happens there. But yeah, look, until this comes out, I'm going to wave the aggressive inline flag because I like that game too. That was great.
I don't even know what it is. Explain aggressive inline to me. Is it Tony Hawk's with rollerblades?
Yep.
That's a very easy description. I can get on board with exactly what that probably was.
Yep. It was great.
Yeah, see what they're doing. Vicarious Vision's got a good track record. Their track record, even in Destiny, as a support studio, is brilliant. They did some of the better DLCs for Destiny.
It looks great.
They've a good little studio pumping out good little games for nostalgic purposes. So second thing that happened this week, and I think this is probably going to be the kind of highlight topic of the three things that we kind of wanted to talk about. So Unreal put out their engine demo. Now, let's caveat, as we've all said to each other offline, let's not get carried away because these engine demos are never indicative of final product. But,
Correct.
Holy mother of ballbacks.
Yeah.
Like, wow. Dan, thoughts?
It was so impressive, and it's really good being here in Australia because you wake up first thing in the morning and pretty much all the news is laid out, but you haven't had all the talking things, so you can watch everything, and then by the time you've watched everything, you can listen to other people talk about it after the fact. But you know, I was watching the actual Summer Game Fest that Keeley puts on, and mind you, this is one of those things, didn't know half about the things that they were talking about. But just in terms of how excited they were and what it can do to games, but also for developers, which I think people really are underestimating. Like, some people will complain about watching this stuff and it's like, oh, it's for developers. Why is this interesting? But if you like, if they're making something easier for developers, you're going to get better games out of it. And I think talking about when they were showing off the models and how easy they're trying to make it to bring models straight in, to save so much time for developers to make games. And you know, we've had a couple of conversations recently about things like crunch and people working overtime, and you know, how can these developers keep spending this much money on games? Well, the idea is to save time, and if you save time, you save money, and you can still put out the same great product that we want. So looking at that stuff specifically about developers and how it makes life easier for them, that is what kind of stood out to me out of it all. Plus, it looks amazing.
John?
Yeah, look, I'm not even going to pretend that I know how any of this is made. It's like magic shit. How the hell do you develop or code or even like conceive the option of like, I know how to make games, this engine thing? Like, I just don't get it. I don't know how it's happened, but I like that it does. I couldn't believe the visuals, and I think that's something I'm going to hold on until I see something real world equivalent. It looks amazing. Like, I'm not going to lie, it's fantastic. I'd play the shit out of that game. It's movie quality. Like, it's that time where it's like, is this a film? Is this pre-rendered or what? I couldn't believe the rocks. Like, I know they're just rocks, but goddamn, did they look good? You know, and all the samurai statues and shit. I'm like, wow, them triangles, bro. And the fact that they broke it down to the point of like, yeah, every pixel is a triangle, and all this kind of shit. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I'm sure someone understands that, but I think yeah, like someone could probably look at this as being for developers only, but I disagree because then you get the Mark Cerny talk about the PS5. That's like legit for those kinds of people. But then you get Unreal Engine demos where it's like, this is the future, get ready, get hype. This is kind of what we're hoping happens. And that's for everyone to see. You don't have to be a developer or a super nerd genius magician to understand the purpose of this. But Jamie, like you said, and I think most people that have a sensible level mind, that all these tech demos, they look fantastic and amazing, but they're specifically tailored examples of, built purposely for a showcase of what it is. And that's different from a developer unlocking the engine itself and, squeezing everything they can out of a machine to process such a thing. But I mean, with the SSDs and the dual motherboard stuff that Xbox is doing and PS5's SSD and the super duper pathways and shit that they're doing these days, we could probably see something like this in a couple of years, maybe, if a developer knows what they're doing. Like, I know all the Xbox studios for the most part are using Unreal, and most of the games, like Epic, have said that the games that are using Unreal 4 can be upgraded like directly into this new engine. So it's not going to take much to kind of learn more. Like, I don't know what that entails, but it wouldn't surprise me if we see some games in 2 or 3 years that are just like this. I hope so. But before you go, Jamie, I'm just going to put it right out there. That flying sequence in that demo, I just went bang, like, I'm like, oh, my Superman game can happen. Oh, I was like, oh my god, it's real. It's happening. The engines and the games and everything are finally caught up when we can do this shit. And that's not even near as fast as Superman would be going. And that was my first thought. I'm like, oh fuck yeah, let's do it. Jamie, you can have the floor now.
Absolutely, like, incredible. Even if you boil it down to just the way they were discussing the type of assets that they're able to use in this engine. Nothing's downsampled. It's not working from kind of streamlined versions of these assets. It's working from raw assets being pulled out of high pixel count. I think did this 8K textures were being used at full resolution, being streamed into the scene, and there's like next to no degradation. When they showed that statue and it was like, wow, that's a detailed statue, and then walked into the next room and was like, oh, here's 500 of them in one room for like 25 bajillion pixels on the screen at one time. Like, I mean, come on, like it is getting to the point where it's getting like movie quality. I mean, what's the difference? Take like Alita Battle Angel, right? Either of you seen it? Or you'll have seen a trailer at least.
Seen it, but I know. Yeah,
we are now at that kind of level, that kind of Pixar level of video game fidelity. We have been for some time, but just the scope of being able to do what they can on this new hardware with, SSDs are quicker, you're not going to get as much texture pop in. I saw a lot of people kind of pointing to that. As you said, the flying sequence is like, this is a video game. Why is nothing popping in? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's like, this is clearly pre-rendered because there's zero pop-in. And they got clapped back by a developer saying, no, like, we have that much bandwidth to play with now that pop-in should not be a thing. The only time I saw any kind of visual pop-in was when the transition happened as she walks out onto the cliff edge. It's kind of just like walking into the light, and the light gradually fades into the next scene, which can be artistic direction, but usually that's a case of you can't have that seamless transition without the what do they call it, the global illumination map switching from what's in the room with you to what's out in front of you.
Because you don't want the whole outside part to be rendering all the time while you're in this cave. Like,
exactly, yeah. So that's more kind of what that was kind of pointing towards. So it was absolutely incredible. I think we've all said it, like, I'd play that game. Like, whoever made that demo, like, I'd play that game. Like, it looks a bit like a cross of a I was getting some Jade Empire vibes from it, like, in places, like old school, with a bit of the obvious, like, yes, Tomb Raider, etc., etc. She's in a cave, it's a woman, like, has she got guns or a bow and arrow? We don't know, but she's
Yeah.
got a floaty little thing that sits in her hand.
She's got balls. That's what
She's got balls.
Oh.
And do you know what else she had?
Oh.
She had pixels. And she had
Yeah.
lots and lots and lots of them, and they were very high fidelity, and it was
Damn
lots of
pixels.
triangles.
well. I
Triangles
think
is her
people
favourite shape.
people came away from this demo and just went, "Oh, so that's what next gen's going to be." Like we finally had that moment where people have gone, "This is next gen." Do you know what I mean? Everything we've seen so far has been that looks like it could be on current gen, because people.
Because it is.
Yeah, true. But and I think a lot of the expectation with that, I think we discussed this last week, needs to be changed in some ways, because next generation is not going to be as focused on imagery as the last two have. The leap into 360, PS3, Xbox One, PS4, and then obviously the upgraded systems that have been using, touting 4K for everything. We can't go any further now until we hit the uncanny valley, right? We physically can't. Yeah. So what are these things around it doing? The SSDs allowing for bigger worlds, faster world rendering, so that it's not as intrusive. Things like suspending 3 or 4 games at once on your next Xbox, where you can just hop right back into where you were. It's those types of things that the developers of the consoles are going, this is why it's next gen. But the general populace and the common consumer goes, yeah, the general populace and the common consumer goes, well, it don't look any different. That's the people they've got to get. People like us, we understand. We're fans of the industry. Like, we have been for a very long time. We've seen countless console launches. We know what to expect. But for, Joe Blogs and his granny, like, how do you message that to them? It's like, well, it looks exactly the same as what you're currently playing at the moment. The frame rates thing as well, I think this is probably worth just touching in on while we're leading out of this, because it's next gen focused as well. Assassin's Creed's development team outlined that they're pushing for 4K 30 on next gen consoles for Valhalla, and everybody got butthurt because Microsoft said that 4K 60 is the target. I actually get it. I get the issue there, because again, the Xbox One X can run 4K 30 current Assassin's Creed games. It will probably do Valhalla at 4K 30. So what is the incentive to buy that console? And it plays into exactly what I've just said. Like, how do you message that? Like, how do you show these things? So I think having this Unreal demo is a double-edged sword, because we're never going to get anything that looks like that. Like, at all. We won't. Even if you watch the Kara demo back from Quantic Dream, that was PlayStation 3 demo, 4 demo?
3.
Yeah.
That was a demo for PS3.
Yeah.
Detroit still didn't look that good. It looks very, very good, but it doesn't look that good. And that's the game that actually came out of that concept. So there's managing certain expectations. But to cut the story down, I'm really happy we've seen something now that's got people excited. But I think people also need to temper their expectations. Any further thoughts or comments, Dan?
No, I agree with you. Like, see, I'm in the position where, I think every game I play is running at 30 frames per second, because I'm on an original PS4. So, the visuals aren't always something that stands out to me. I definitely understand for shooters how frame rate is an integral part to having that. Like, the higher frames you can get in a shooter, the better. I think for third-person action games, it's not as consequential. Like, the only real experience I've had of being able to flick between two that I've tried with anyway is The Last of Us Remastered. When you guys hop on that, it actually lets you either do it at 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second. Because the original game, obviously, on PS3 was 30, and then when they put out the remaster, they let you switch between 30 and 60. So I could tell the difference, but it was so weird going to 60 frames because everything's going a little bit faster, and that game, like, the movements are slow deliberately. So it was real jolting to go that way. So I think in Assassin's Creed, the frame rate is not necessarily the issue. It's I guess it depends on the SKU that you're going to get and what console you have with Valhalla as to yeah, what your incentive is going to be getting an Xbox One X, Xbox Series X compared to what you already have. But it depends on the game with the frame rate, really. It really depends. Like, even in that Unreal demo, they came out and they said it was running at 30 frames, but like, that's all it wasn't about showing off the frame rate. So that's why they did it at 30 frames.
Did you, out of interest, did you watch the actual one that Epic put out themselves? That wasn't the stream version. It was like 4K encoded.
Yeah, I watched not the whole thing. I watched the start of it, but unless I put it side by side, I can't tell. So it all looks pretty. That's what I.
On it is so, but even I noticed some really minor details, mainly with the lighting. You know, like the light effects that they showed. The depth in the lighting was really impressive. It'll look nice and fancy on your TV. You should definitely watch it. Chunt, any further final thoughts on the topic?
Yeah. Like, I mean, we've touched on it already. People need to temper themselves, but like the example that we've got here at the moment with Valhalla and this demo. Valhalla has been in development for 4 years on old development kits, right? It started development after Origins. It's the same team, same creative director. So I find it funny that people are comparing that game to this, where this is a purpose-made demo of what could be, whereas Valhalla is a real-world game built for multiple consoles on a 4-year cycle. But people need to, like, it's not hard to kind of, differentiate the stuff, but I guess not everybody's open-minded or aware. Like we try to keep in touch with what's going on where we can, but not everybody's got that same optic. But I just find a lot of these arguments online just hiring and just like, come on. Like, if you stop and think about it rather than knee-jerk and shit, it makes sense. And maybe the next Assassin's Creed that comes out in 2-3 years or whatever it is might actually be what you have an experience on your PC there, Jamie, with the high frames and the high resolution and the, oh my god, this looks gorgeous, all that kind of stuff.
Like,
to see that experience.
Third parties are not going to be the ones that show off how much a console can do. It's from the first parties, because they're only making it for that one specific thing, and therefore they put all their time into it. So I don't know. You can't expect Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which is a cross-generation game, to show off everything that the console can do. It's not realistic.
No, I think the companies that will make the most of that from Microsoft is probably Ninja Theory and the Coalition. I mean, Gears has always been built in Unreal, and Hellblade 2 is being built in Unreal. The engine itself, I don't think, is going consumer side, as in like the free version that Epic put out for anybody to just play around with until 2021. But Phil Spencer did tweet alluding to the fact that both the Hellblade team and the Gears team already have access to this. Which means I think they'll probably be the first games we see using it. To what degree they're using it, and to what degree most of that stuff is being built in 4 and ported to 5, I don't know. I think you may be looking at those companies' projects following those ones as to seeing, like we said, 2-3 years down the line. There's nothing saying the next Gears game isn't 3 years away. Do you know what I mean? But if those companies are doing that with this,
Hellblade's not out till 2022.
So they've got maybe a little bit more time to work with it. But it's, if you look at so say if Epic have created these tools, there is zero chance that no one's copied them. Do you know what I mean? That there's no way that these other developers have not built similar tech into tools for this gen, which gets me quite excited for what Microsoft have done with Slipspace. Like, I'm more intrigued now to see what they've done with that new engine for Halo, and see how much of those types of things have been put into that. Moving forward, but that's a complete topic for probably for a different day.
They're the only ones that use a different engine to the rest of Microsoft Studios. Is that right?
Say again.
They got their
Slipspace.
Yeah, they're the only one that use a different engine to the rest of the first-party studios from Microsoft.
I think
Yeah,
they
think
have the
Forza
choice.
Studio used modified Unreal, but yeah, I think they have the choice.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like otherwise, you got every game looking the same, and others have advantages and
Yeah,
disadvantages. But
I think that's
like
even something Phil Spencer touched on, didn't he? You know, saying like that we want to give developers the option of what they want to use. Like EA tried going down that route of getting everybody to use Frostbite, and it's bitten them in the arse on numerous occasions. Like, just let developers use the tools they want to use. At the end of the day, how does it affect your brand? Do you know what I mean? Slipspace may end up being a phenomenal engine, and some of the other Microsoft first parties go, can we please have access to that? And they go, yes, of course, you're a first party. Here you go, have it.
yeah,
But I'm sure we'll see down the line. The last thing to happen this week, gentlemen, was Ghost of Tsushima's State of Play, as Dan quite correctly told me it's called. Dan, you and I both watched it happen in Chunt. I'm assuming you caught up on it after the fact.
yep, seen it a few times now.
So as our Japanese aficionado, Chunt, do you want to take us off? What do you think?
Oh, I'm the aficionado because I'm a samurai warlord on Animal Crossing. That makes sense. So I am blown away by it straight off the bat. I think the fact that this is running on current gen is astounding. Sucker Punch and their engine are always, pretty looking things. But I don't know how it's running. I don't know how it's running on these consoles. Like I can't wait to play it on my standard PS4 just to be like, yeah, this is running. Same feeling I had with Final Fantasy 7. Like, how is this a thing this gen? But look, I've been saying for years I've wanted a Viking Assassin's Creed, and I've got that now coming. And the other one was I'd love a feudal Japan type style Assassin's Creed game. And looks like I'm getting that too. So, and so obviously, like, yeah, cool. I'll get Valhalla and go to Tsushima, and I'll be sweet. I just like to see if Ubisoft are like, oh god, oh whoops, like our next one was going to be Japan, but oh god, look at this, this looks stunning. Look, I'll just say, like, from an artistic perspective, this is so different from all these other open world games like Assassin's Creed type esque games. Like, it's stunning. It's not a direct, realistic kind of take. Like, there's definite artistic license given here. Like, the world just looks ethereal. Just particle effects everywhere, and, like, leaves and flower blossoms and stuff everywhere, and the grass is like moving in the wind, and the atmosphere, and the lighting, and like it just looks bullshit. I swear this is a massive joke. Like, it's a joke, right? Like, this is a big, like, power play. This was captured on PS4 Pro. Nah, it's on PS5. I'm just waiting for some kind of caveat to come across. Yeah, look, I guess it's just good now that I was on the fence. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was on the fence when the first reveal came out. I'm like, like a stealth game, whatever. I don't know if I'm about that. Like 2018, I think was the last time we saw anything. That from my memory anyway. And I didn't have a PS4 then, but now after this demo, I'm like, God, I'm glad I've got one, because now I can buy it and play it. And yeah, I'm super excited. I want to see more though. Some of the combat stuff I want to see more about. I'm not a big stealth player, so if there's a massive focus on that, I might be turned off a little. But and I like to just run in and just wreck house. So if I have to be a bit patient with my fighting and combat, like a good samurai would, you strike only when you need to. Like, I need to kind of learn that.
I think it looks from the demo as if you maybe got the choice. It seems like there's quite a bit of emergent gameplay in terms of if you want to go in here all guns blazing, you can. But it's similar to Assassin's Creed. If you go in all guns blazing, you're going to get overwhelmed very quickly, so you better be able to pull off the maneuvers you need to get out of there alive, which is probably the correct way to do it.
Look, I could rant on and on and on. I'm just blown away by it. I can't wait to play it. I'm just getting ready to spread those cheeks right now. Just come on, let's do it.
That must be it must be a black hole by now, mate, because they're spread often.
Yeah, it doesn't take much, eh?
Doesn't take much for Chunt to open his doors.
I'm done.
Dan, what's your opinions?
So I thought it was great. It was, a lot of people had been nervous about this game and playing Sucker Punch games for a while now. I had faith that they would come through with something, but obviously I didn't know what. But there's so many things in this demo that just either surprised me or just reinforced something I was already thinking about Sucker Punch. Just a couple of things going off the combat, like you were talking about, Chunt. This game is actually going to really pull me from both sides, being that. Ooh. So normally in Sucker Punch games, especially with Infamous, you either played as good or bad, and depending on which way you went, you got different abilities that would increase as you went. So you just go or full evil or full bad. So when I play games, I always play as the good guy. I can't play evil. And I also tend to always go towards stealth and sneaking. Whereas in this game, to be a noble samurai, to be someone that is respectful, like you actually, you go up to your enemy and you announce that you're there and you fight them like man on man. Whereas if you want to be dishonorable, you therefore go and do stealth things and go stab people, from roofs and do Assassin's Creed like stuff. So it's actually going to really be interesting to see which way I play. Do I play the way I normally play but be dishonorable or to my culture, or do I be honorable as a samurai but then end up having to fight everyone face to face? So that actually really interested me, and I'm not sure which way I'm going to play yet. A couple of other things I like. I love the wind direction. What the guiding wind. I think that's a really clever way. I'm at odds at the moment because everything in that gameplay demo, it tried to show you as much like little on screen as possible. So you're just looking at this world constantly, and even having that, not having a waypoint on the screen that you're looking at constantly to go to. By having the wind go through, it's making you see everything. But I'm also really considering playing it with a Japanese voiceover and the subtitles. But if I'm reading the subtitles, therefore I'm not looking at the world like they want me to, like the game's designed me to. So I'm kind of torn between that as well of what way to go. I probably won't do the Samurai Cinema mode, but
that black and white mode.
Yeah,
looks sick, man.
It does look sick, but I feel like after about 30 minutes, I'll be like, all right, I need my color back because it
That'd
feels
be
like a
waste of playthrough.
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of other things, I think the point where I felt that this game was going in a was trying to show off an open world in a slightly different way to most others, because it has a lot of the same familiar things that we know and love from games like Assassin's Creed, and that was when you saw the fox and you were walking up to the fox, and in my mind I instantly thought of like, because it has Red Dead feels, this game, where it is just about being in the area and not necessarily being fast paced. But I saw the fox. I went, okay, this is the part where you go and you kill the fox and you grab the fox's fur and you use that for different parts of your armor or whatnot. And when it went up to the fox and then it said, oh, follow the fox and it will take you to little shrines. I'm like, it's not going around. It's not about hunting and killing all these animals. It's about actually being with nature, and hence the wind, and hence these animals kind of showing you or leading you into different places to try different missions. I was like, this game's actually a little bit different to what I was like thinking of, and it is very
just luring
surreal
you
and
back to his foxhole so he can kill you, jump at your throat and rip it open.
Yeah, it's a violent game, but it's not necessarily about the violence all the time, which was nice. But yeah, that's enough from me, Jamie. You haven't given your thoughts yet.
No, that's work away. my first instinct was this is Assassin's Creed. Like I'm playing it at the moment. I was like, this is all very familiar. But you know, the more we did see, you said sort of the way that they're using wind as a mechanic, the blossoms. It does look gorgeous. The one thing I wasn't impressed with was the character model. You know, when they were showing through the armor sets, I was like, that's not very detailed. I don't know if it's just a case of it's from an old build or it was the stream quality or whatever it might have been, but I was definitely like, that's not very detailed. But everything else, yeah, like I'm all about it. Much like Chunt, if I wanted a Assassin's Creed game in a certain specific era, it would have been, through the Japanese samurai kind of vibe. And it looks like they don't need to make it anymore. And probably why they haven't, because this game's been in development for a while, hasn't it? So it's nice to see some more of it. I mean, they did finish the thing out by saying, and you don't worry, we've got more to show you soon. So maybe they'll do another state of play or a gameplay video or something. But I mean, how much more do you actually want to see before you're
Nothing.
all in, so to speak? I mean, anything?
Absolutely nothing. No, I had already pre-ordered this game like 6 months ago. Just it was more based on faith, but this gameplay demo kind of just it made me feel a lot better about the purchase.
It's only
John,
out
what
a
about
couple
you?
months. It's out in July.
Yeah, July
Not
17th.
long.
So they kind of don't need to show more, other than just like a release trailer closer to launch, to keep the hype going. Look, I don't know, like you said, it's kind of, I totally see where you're coming from. You're like, oh, I've already played this, so many games like it, and there's like Breath of the Wild elements in there as well, and I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of like a Japanese Breath of the Wild, like it's all open and you go wherever you want. It's kind of fantastical elements with communing with nature and letting nature guide you and all that kind of stuff. Look, I don't think I really need to see more about it. Like I'm trying to actively games that I'm actually interested in these days. I try and just roll back on, really getting lost in the lead up, because then you're not really, you don't leave much surprise for yourself when you boot the game up and jump in for the first time. So I almost, for this particular game, I almost don't want them to show more other than just a hype trailer closer to launch. Look, I think they've got another winner on their hands with this one. I think most people have known that for a while now. Just released it already. Like, it seems like it's quite polished already. Just what are you doing for the next couple of months?
Yeah.
Let's pump it out.
One thing I hope the game does, and I keep hearing this on the internet, and I'm like, please don't, because the game seems very spiritual, which makes sense, but I don't want it to be mythological. Like I don't. People are like, oh, maybe you'll go into an area or take some herbs or whatever and do like a Far Cry thing where you go into like a dream state and you fight these monsters. I'm like, I don't want any of that. Like I just want to be in that world and stay in that world. I don't want it to go into the mythological. I just want it to stay grounded and into where it is.
Yeah, I don't think they will. I think if that was a key feature of the game, I'm pretty sure we might have seen something about it right now. I mean, that'd be kind of crap messaging if they're hiding something like that, like a big feature of the game or an element of the game behind what they've already seen. There's one thing of wanting to save something for the players, but that's dangerous considering how much these games cost, and critical reception goes a long way. And if people like you are like, yeah, look, I'm super hyped for this game, and then you get something in the game where you're like, I didn't sign up for this shit. What? Kind of ruins the experience. So I think they owe it to themselves and everybody else that's paying for their ability to make the game to be a bit more transparent. So I wouldn't be too concerned about it, but I can totally see your hesitation there. Yeah, I'm ready.
I am too. I'm quite sold. I don't need to see too much more. I mean, it's a similar type of gameplay that enjoy playing. Keen to see how deep the RPG mechanics go, but that's something you can always wait for. Whether it is just a case of, like I said, the decisions you make, your play style will inform the kind of army you build over the course of the game, etc. That's a mechanic that I'd quite like to see a bit more about, but again, it's not holding me back from the decision. Like, yeah, feudal. I can't talk anymore. My tongue really doesn't work. Japan is a is a great setting for a video game. And samurais. Give me some samurais.
I will say pay the respect to the Kurosawa mode, the black and white film grain mode. It's just they obviously love that era and they love that film genre. It's just all over it, and I love those films too. Like all those samurai films, they're just great. And to see someone taking a shot at it in a game like of this kind of expense and caliber, it's something different, it's something new, and like if this game turns out to be good, like I can see myself going through a second playthrough just in that mode. Like the Seven Samurais, it's a classic film, and like Cub and Wolf or Lone Wolf and Cub, whatever it is, all that shit. Love it. So yeah, I'm all about it. Can't wait. I'm done. I don't want to say any more about it.
Cool. Well, that kind of brings us to an abrupt close because with it being such a heavy news week, we didn't have kind of a topical conversation to have this week. But what we did do was put out our first episode of Spoiler Room, where the three of us have all played one video game. We talk about it, we spoil it, and think about what we maybe want from the next iteration of that franchise. Thank you to the several people who've already watched the Spider-Man one. Very, very late compared to when you'd usually expect, but Chunt and I recently finished it, so why not? Sounds like Ghost of Tsushima might be one that's in the near future, boys, and maybe a little more timely. But yeah, nothing else for us to add this week, so we'll be back. We'll be back next week. Please do check out that episode of Spoiler Room if you have played Spider-Man and you're interested in our opinions and thoughts on our time with it. And we will see you next week for episode number 11.
Bye.
Bye.